Welcome to Business Success Tips, where we help people make more money in less time and have more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build winning teams. I have as my guest today, Randy Stanbury. Got it right, Randy? We're good.
You got
From 4-Level Coach. And Randy, tell a little about what you do and how you got a little backstory, so the audience will know who you are.
Yeah, so 4-Level Coach. We help builders and remodelers grow and scale. We're talking about, and the reason we call ourselves 4-Level Coach is the 4 levels of business. We see it. Level 1 is having a job in your business. Level 2, having a small business. So it's turning into a real small business where we got some management layers in place and things are starting to come off our plate. And what you talked about, why this podcast exists is to help people make more money and have more fun, right? Along the way is exactly what levels 3 and 4 are. And what we do is help people move from levels 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. And 3 is a scalable business. So once we get a nice little business going, let's turn that into a scalable business. That takes people, it takes systems, it takes scoreboards and metrics, it takes real profitability. And we basically are creating almost a franchise model of our business, right? And level 4 is a sellable business, where I see a sellable business as a scalable business that no longer needs you in the day-to-day operation at all, because everything is being done. And you can then walk away, take your time, enjoy some freedom, but it becomes a whole lot more sellable and valuable to a buyer. And that's what I did for myself in my own business. I removed myself from 2007 to 2017. I spent 10 years outside of my business while it paid me extremely well. I went and had some more fun, as you mentioned, but I also went and started some other businesses along the way. So now I basically just help and teach other builders and remodelers how to do what I did in my own world.
So tell me a little about your own, but what kind of business was that and how did it work for you to scale it and sell it?
So I've had several businesses. My core business when I first started in 1995 was in transportation logistics. So I was in the logistics business from 95 to 2017 when I sold it in 2017. In 2006, I went and started a third-party logistics business and got that running and operating without me. So that's, warehousing, fulfillment, order fulfillment. Again, all logistics. And what I'm going to circle back to is the fact that this business here in custom home building, remodeling, this is a logistics business too. And the thing is, for most entrepreneurs in this world, do not see their business as a logistics business, and that's a big mistake. Because logistics can be scalable.
Can you define logistics for our audience, Randy?
Oh, so logistics. So this was transportation, trucking logistics. Third-party warehousing, also logistics. So logistics is the moving parts, right? It's the moving parts that we have on a day-to-day basis in our business to accomplish. It's the logistics side of moving products or getting work done in your field.
So how would you relate logistics, Randy, to a construction company? Why do you call it a logistics business?
So it's a logistics business because, if you have your own teams and you're self-performing a lot of work, you also have another element to your business, but logistics is more about project management. So a lot of builders are set up with sub-trades only, and that's a true logistics business. You are managing projects, injecting people, businesses into your project, and it's logistically dealing with the issues of the day, right?
So
making
would you
sure that
say,
project
Randy,
gets through.
That managing resources you'd call logistics, right? Whatever those resources are.
Sure, 100%. And the reason that if you think about it from a logistics standpoint, yes, of course, we're building homes. We're doing remodel work. We're doing additions, whatever your work is. But at the end of the day, if you step back and see what's going on from a logistics standpoint, we can start looking at that and starting to think about systematize. It's far easier to think about when you think about your business being logistics. Yes, we build homes, but at the end of the day, it's logistics side that we can scale.
So what you're saying is a contractor's ability to manage his resources, whether it's trucks and warehouses or subcontractors and his own people, is pretty much the same thing.
In a lot of respects, yes. And in a lot of respects, the same outcome in terms of how do we get profitable? Because until we're profitable, none of this matters, right? So if we're
Right.
doing any of this work and it's not profitable, we'll never build and manage teams anyway, because we'll never afford them. So if we get to the point where we can afford to grow the teams, put the right people in place, know what we're doing in the field to get more effective, efficient, and profitable, that's the whole logistics side that takes your business to another level. That becomes scalable.
Interesting. Well, I always say that if you leave your business and it won't continue, you own a job and not a business. If you can leave your
Hello,
business and
level
it
one.
continues, you own a business, right? And most
Right.
contractors own a job.
Right. And that's level 1 and 2, right? Even at level 2, we got a nice little business going now at this point, but we still have a job in our business at the end of the day. Until we can get ourselves removed from a lot of the day-to-day function, I totally agree with you.
Cool. So now, how you've worked with a lot of contractors, how do you get people through the levels? And I'm going to give you a little, because I've been a coach for 40 years and I've been trying to do the same thing. My experience of contractors is they don't have a high willingness to let go. I just talked about there. Well, only I can do this, or I'm the guy.
Right.
And other than that, they suck at recruiting. So I've hired 3 people and they all suck, and I can't find anybody. And I have to do
Hello.
it.
Yep.
So, how do you coach guys through I'm the only guy can do it. I can't find any people, and I've tried it and it hasn't worked. And they give me horror stories. Well, I hired another project manager and he cost me $50,000. I'm never gonna do that again. So
Right.
how do you convince these guys and some ladies to let go and actually trust that they have systems and people that they can trust?
Yeah, love it. I mean, it's the number one challenge, I would say, from making a fortune compared to a living.
Right.
Right? If you can trust and let go, you have the ability now to make a fortune. If you cannot do that, you'll never make a fortune. You'll always make a living. You will also always be stuck on the hamster wheel. You'll also be always hitting a ceiling, because at some point you won't be able to bust through, revenue levels or profitability levels. And
Well,
so,
I always say, Elon Musk is obviously an avatar in a lot of ways, but his ability, even though he's a really smart guy, without his ability to build teams and systems, he'd just be a smart guy at MIT or someplace, right?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I use that same analogy. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. So, let's use Elon Musk. How can he run the number of businesses he's involved in at the level they run at if he wasn't able to trust and let go? Let's just use that, right? I mean, it's impossible. It would never happen. And so you must be able to trust and let go. We have systems to do that. We have what we call our time finder system. And without getting into a lot of detail, at the end of the day, it's about having them understand what they do in a day, all the activities, and how valuable those activities are, and which ones you got to trust and let go of if you're ever going to free yourself up enough to then go, and hit Paul up to find a team that actually can support his needs.
Well,
right? Or
I
her
always
needs.
say, if you don't have an admin assistant, you are one. Right?
Yeah, hello. Yes. And that is, in some respects, to me, that admin assistant, or even higher level to me, is a system CIA, what we
Right.
or coin the phrase. A system CIA is a systems creator, implementer, and accountability person. And our team as a systems person is highly leverageable in your ability to trust and let go. Because here's the thing, right? As you know, Paul, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But if we don't have systems in place to do it our way, insert your company name, right? It's the blank way of doing business, of getting a build done. See, what most builders and remodelers are doing is focusing on the what, right? The what is what we do in the field. It's the build, right? It's the actual work, which the what is extremely important. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it is kind of table stakes that you better be a good builder in the quality of the work that you do. And that's our what. What people are willing to pay more for is a better client experience. It's the how. It's
Right.
how you go about doing this. Now, if you have a blank way of doing what you do, that's your how, that's a client experience that people are willing to pay more for, we can start really being far more profitable, put the right people in place to actually execute on the systems of the how. And now we've got something that's a totally different level in our business. We're heading towards level 3 and 4 now, right? Where otherwise we're playing a level 1 and 2. We're going to have a job in our business forever. Likely there'll be no value in your business at the end.
Construction business are basically worthless in most cases.
Yes, because they have no value because you're it.
You're it. You're the business. Now, what I'm noticing, and this would be interesting to converse with you, Randy, is that this is a sort of interesting effect of AI, right? So AI is disrupting a lot of industries where people are selling information for money. Attorneys, doctors. I've got a guy who's doing a whole legal fight with ChatGPT, right? So it's disrupting those industries, but it's going to be a long time before AI is going to put on a roof or do a remodel. So what's happened is all this capital, which used to be invested in those kinds of industries, is flowing into construction, and guys are using roll-ups of roofing companies, plumbing companies, all these kind of things. There's a bunch of capital coming in, which is sort of the good news and the bad news. The good news is you'll be able to probably sell your company, and the bad news is if you're not one of the ones they buy, you're going to be ones they put out of business because they're better at marketing and recruiting than you are.
Yep. Yep. I
You see
couldn't
that
disagree
happening?
at all. 100%. And here's the truth of the matter. Partly why I love this industry and why I am so focused in it today. Well, one, love building, always have. Started a remodel business during the time where I was freed up from my core businesses and logistics.
Right.
And so, I get this world and get this industry, but the truth of the matter is this industry is not going to be disrupted.
No,
like there is enormous possibilities and upside here that will not be disrupted. Right now, I have spent tons of time and hours with Peter Diamandis, who is a good friend of mine at this point, recognized as one of the top influential peoples on the planet, that has what he calls his Abundance 360. And it's an event that goes on every year in California. And that is all about exponential technologies that are coming in 5 years from now that most of the population knows nothing about. And we've been, hearing about this stuff coming forever and the whole disruption, which of course makes this industry extremely valuable, which I don't think, most builders, modelers don't realize it, but, you realize it, Paul. The truth of the matter is we all have a winning lottery ticket in our pocket. We just don't know how to cash it in.
And the thing is, what concerns me, because I've been in this business for 40 years, and things change. I mean, I literally drug people through cell phone. I mean, they had pagers, cell phones, and then they didn't need a website. Email was a fad. And my one before this was, project management software. I can just use an Excel sheet. Who needs
Sure.
Job Trader Procore or something? My latest one is AI, and I think that's bigger than any of them all put together. Because what I see happening is that it's sort of like you own a small business and you're a drugstore in downtown, Bodunk, Cincinnati, and you don't know Walmart's coming. You know what I mean? And what I see happening, it's interesting. I've got a guy that had a lot of money. He was like a venture capital guy. And what he decided to do was start a roofing company in Nebraska with his money. I said, why? You're like rich. Why? He goes, well, I look at the opportunity. He says, in roofing in Nebraska, the guys are either old and they're going out of business, or they're young and they don't have any money. So I can come in there with the marketing technology, recruiting technology, build great teams, get market share, and I can own, Nebraska in 3 years. It'll be worth a business. It's going to be worth, 10 times what I put into it. And I see that happening more and more. It's happening as we speak. Roll-ups are happening and that kind of thing. So to me, if people don't make it from level 2 to 3 or 4, you may be put out of business by somebody that has made it to level 4, unfortunately.
100%. Yeah. And, the sad truth is you've worked your ass off all your life to get there. And this is the hardest working industry on the planet. I don't know many others that work like this.
Well, that's our contract. I used to work with doctors and attorneys, and no offense, they like cheat and steal more than most. And whereas, contractors are square guys, but unfortunately, contractors' inability to adapt to technology could do them in if they don't get, as you said, from level 2 to 3 or 4.
Right. And I believe add to that, I believe it's two things. And sure, the technology is a whole other piece to this, to the first two things. We call it the 232 of being stuck. And the first two of those 232 is financial literacy and business savvy. And at the end of the day, when we lack financial literacy, understanding our numbers, understanding how they work, understanding the importance of reading a P&L, knowing how to make decisions from our financials, to be able to price differently based on our financials. Because when we can price based on understanding our numbers, we have a whole nother advantage that most of our competitors have no idea about in the field. Right. So when we lack financial literacy and business savvy, this is where we get stuck on that hamster wheel, and we can never get away from, understanding that we need profit before growth, systems before people. You talk about people. If we just throw a bunch of people at our problem, that's not going to solve a whole hell of a lot. It's going to create more chaos, frustration, and overwhelm. So we have to be able to manage it, logistics, manage the people, the resources in a systemized way, and we track and measure how that's working and not working. And when we get the system right, we then have systems before people. And next, we need the how before the what, because when we just do the what, we do not create the client experience that can increase the price point, and that changes the whole game. Now, when we tie all those three things together, we then have the ability, like you asked, how do you get people to trust and let go? And that really is the answer. We need financial literacy and business savvy. And when we get that, let's get profit before growth, systems for people, and the how before the what. When you get all that in place and we tie in that system, now we can trust and let go, because we built something that works for us. Okay. We can walk away from something.
So, man, here's to me the big issue. Maybe you can help me. All right. You're taking unfortunately or fortunately, most of the construction industry was founded by craftsmen.
Of course, yeah.
It's
yeah.
highly fractionalized industry. It may not be in the future, but it's right now highly fractionalized, all taught by craftsmen. It's not like you got MBAs that started construction companies, rarely. It's all craftsmen, right. And they evolved from being a plumber to a plumbing company, a carpenter to a carpenter company, but
extremely talented in what they do and great.
And they're craftsmen. But is there any key to getting a person from making the mental switch from a craftsman to an entrepreneur?
I think it's a process, and it's done, a piece at a time. It's not like you can just shift one day to the next. I think once you start seeing, and this happens we see this in our programs all the time. It's almost like I can tell if I've seen somebody with us for that first 90 days, usually about the 90th day or somewhere around there. You see a shift in them. Like, it's like they've realized what's possible. And I believe that's it. We have to realize what's possible.
How do you create that aha experience, for lack of a better term? Like,
sure, and it is an aha.
I realize that I'm a craftsman. I need to be an entrepreneur, which is a different skill set than I currently have.
Correct. So what was the question? How do you
make people, like, are there any keys to making them help make that shift? Because I would say most people listening to this podcast, at least most of our clients are about 300,
are hoping to make that shift. They're looking to.
They're craftsmen, and they sort of intellectually get it, but they don't emotionally get it.
And I think the shift is whether you resonate with us at 4-Level Coach, or you resonate with another coach, or what you did in the past. You have to get yourself in a world with other entrepreneurs. And I mean entrepreneurs, not craftsmen that are running businesses, but entrepreneurs. Right. And I know that's different. A craftsman running a business is not an entrepreneur yet. A craftsman that becomes a business owner, becoming business savvy, understanding their numbers, is starting to become an entrepreneur. And that's the aha moment. Now, how do you trigger that moment? I think they have to be surrounded in a world with others that are doing that. Because often, how often do we hear this? And you've heard this for years. is that most guys feel like they're on an island on their own, right?
And
As an
you know,
entrepreneur, is
one of the
lonely.
things, what's really bad about the construction industry is there's not that camaraderie. I mean, they all feel, you know, I think collaboration is the key to success, not competition. And I'd make it there's a whole philosophical argument about that. But
Well, your entire business is built on.
right, everything's built on collaboration. But unfortunately, they buy the Darwin competition kind of thing, and they don't share with each other. They don't like, hey, let me tell you, they don't go to meetings, maybe a NARI meeting occasionally, maybe level 20, you know, builder 20 if they're lucky. But usually they're the smartest person in the room, which is not a good idea. And they're leading their company, but they don't surround themselves with people that are better entrepreneurs than they are. I mean, I always say that a wise man learns from the mistakes of others, and a smart man learns from his own mistakes. So obviously you want to learn from mistakes of others, right? And yet most contractors find themselves in that position where they aren't learning from other people that are entrepreneurs. They may talk to a couple of their subcontractors, they talk to their clients, but they're not getting that kind of education and inspiration they need to make that shift.
Right. Now, why is that? It's because they don't want to chat with someone on a local level. They're fearful. It's a scarcity mindset opposed to an abundant mindset,
Right.
right? So there's this fear of, well, if I give my trade secrets or my clients or my information about what I
My
do,
subcontractors, or pick one, right?
my subs, that I'm going to lose, and it's been hard enough to get them, and all of that. I totally understand that. But the truth of the matter is, when you start playing at a higher level, you no longer worry about that. That's not, but in order to make the shift though, what we need to do, and I believe, and you know this, Paul, we got to get outside of our geographical area that we're worried about our client base with, or our sub base with, or whatever that is, right? And so, when you join a program like ours, you're with builders all over the country now. There's not a competitive concern there, right? You're in different states. You're not worried about that. So in our programs, everyone's sharing, everyone's there to help each other. There is that going on. So that becomes a whole different level of, oh, I get it now, in that world of I'm transforming to becoming an entrepreneur as opposed to the craftsman.
I know.
Right.
I had one guy who was doing, I can't even spend, I took him from literally as a coach from 3 million to 100 million. And I told him, you got to get out of this town and you got to go find production builders that do 20 or 30 million. Don't talk, because nobody here does that. So you can't learn from here. So he literally flew in that country, and that's how I learned how to get to 100 million, by talking to people that were at 100, right?
Yeah. And so we refer to that. It's referred to as follow the leader. So, Tony Robbins talks about it as model after the masters. We refer to it as play follow the leader. And really, exactly what you're talking about. Let's get out of state. Let's get out of our area, right? Let's go find someone that we want to, be like when we grow up.
Right.
Right. It's just modeling after the master, following the leader. It's a strategy. It's a technique. It's part of our world and our program. You did the same thing. It makes sense. That's how we learn. But this is why we surround ourselves with bigger, better players than us. So you're not the smartest person in the room. You want to be in a room where everyone is getting smarter.
Absolutely. So, what different programs do you offer? How does the level 4 actually work?
So moving from that level 1 and 2, we have different programs for different levels. So we have programs for that less than $1 million, guys that are kind of in startup mode, or have been struggling for a number of years, that can't seem to break past 2 or 3 or 400,000, or that $1 million mark anyway, right? So that's a nice foundational level program to help you get beyond the $1 million mark. And then we have the $1 million to $5 million mark, is typically that next stage, or that next level. And that's our kind of our core business that's wrapped around how that program works. We have masterminds in that, and small groups, and we have other weekly group sessions. We do quarterly focus sessions. Everything is about getting dialed in to know where you want to go. Paul, the truth of the matter is, most business owners do not have a vision for where they're going. And if we don't have a vision, how the F can we possibly have goals that we are focused on because they're in alignment with nothing if we don't have a vision? And so every quarter we're doing vision testing and focusing, and then we create our 12-month goals, and then we leave there with 90-day game plans. And to me, I don't care about big long-term game plans. I want a 90-day laser focused game plan that I can execute in the next 13 weeks. That's 90 days. And we come back and do this again and get refocused. And week to week in our program, we meet every week. We focus on what we refer to as vitals. It's basically, why these elephants sit here is eating the elephant one bite at a time. And we're just doing the next right bite on a weekly basis to get us to our quarterly focus, which leads us to our 12-month goals, which all is in alignment to where we want to end up. Right. So once we get all that dialed in, the program and the structure of 4-Level Coach is a very systematized, very structured process to keep you laser focused, actionable steps, doing the right things right, in the right order of the right bites. And then we provide an enormous amount of tools and spreadsheets and SOPs and systems and checklists and, all of the things that our business needs. And every business in the building and remodeling industry needs these tools. You just don't have to create them. We just hand them to you, and then you leverage, because what's the biggest problem? Bandwidth and time.
Right.
You do not have the bandwidth and time to do it. So, unless we hand this stuff to you, it's very hard to create because you have no time to do it.
Like,
So
the number
this
one
is
reason
the
people don't
leverage
take
of it.
time management is no time, right? So
Say that again.
the number one reason people don't take time management is no time.
Right. Well, we have this time finder tool I mentioned before, and the biggest reason why they don't do the time finder to find more time.
They have no time.
They don't have time.
I know, it's insane.
It's insane. It's crazy making. And but here's the thing: we don't have time, and it's not for, like, I can't even blame them in a lot of ways. At the end of the day, they're busy as shit just trying to keep up with the day to day. There's hundreds of moving parts in this business, so I completely get it. But what we have to understand is if we don't move the needle every week at least towards our vision and where we're going, then what the hell is going to be different in a year from now?
That's right. It's going to be the same thing over and over again.
It's the same thing. And
it's going to be
many of us have been there for 15, 20 years already.
Well, what's going to change, Randy, is with AI disrupting information industries and a bunch of money coming into this industry, I think 5 years from now, there's not going to be 20 plumbers in town. There's going to be 3, all run right. And it's finally coming to where money is being driven to this industry because there's no place else that's going to be safe, so to speak, from disrupted by artificial intelligence.
Something I haven't actually considered that, so I appreciate that thinking. I believe, and I don't see why you're not accurate.
And you can see. So the thing is, they need to get from level. There's a sense of urgency here, guys. You got to get from level 2 to 3 or 4. Or unlike the past, when it was a fractionalized industry and nobody really cared who was a plumber and who was an electrician and who was a framer, when you have a lot of capital moving this industry, look what happened in the music industry, the distribution industry. If you look at Amazon, you can look at Walmart. Once they changed distribution, there's no more corner drugstore. They're gone. There's no more musicians that do CDs. They're gone. So I see this as happening in this industry. The local plumber who's been in business 5 years or 15 or 20 years, he's going to be gone. Because they're looking for a place to put their money and capital that can't be disrupted. And right now, one of the few industries on the planet that's going to be safe for the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's well said. I think when you say there's urgency, because in this industry, it's been the same for so long, like 100 years.
It has. I mean, when you look at a stick frame house 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and it's the same thing. The same guy, the same remodeling.
The same way.
It's been a fractionalized industry for 100 years. And it's going to be interesting. So it's a great time to be alive, great opportunity. But unless people make the decision to work with companies like yours, unfortunately, they're going to be the corner drugstore in 10 years, I think.
And the truth is, it's executing on the right people with the right systems, knowing your numbers, tracking the right metrics in our business, and you know, the key word is execution. Because
Right.
until we can
Absolutely.
execute, we will not get there. And there is a simple formula and system for executing. And this is something that our entire 4-level coach system and business is built around being able to execute at a high level. Everything is a system, everything is a structure. And as long as you have the process and the system and you follow that system and the structure of getting there, it's near impossible not to succeed.
I think
You,
that,
you, you
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 know,
have to
it's,
not be taking action in any way, shape, or form and just forget everything that we're sharing with you to not succeed. It's
but
near
it's sort of
impossible.
like, you know, people say you can't find people in this industry. We have a 97% time of people working out because we have a system that makes that happen, right?
Bingo.
It's like you need a
Yeah.
market. You know, this is a great industry if you've got great employees and great clients. But if
Yes.
not, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
So, Randy, this is great. If
Frustrating.
people want to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
You can email me at Randy at 4levelcoach, the number 4levelcoach.com. You can go to our website. You can book a call if you'd like to book a call with us. We have several programs. Our website is extremely dialed in what we do and how things work. Just go to the number 4levelcoach.com again, and you'll find us. And there's we're all over social media too. So
Right.
check us out.
Well, I think, you know, there's some sense of urgency here, guys or ladies, that the construction industry is about to go through a major evolution as I see it. And you can be either in it or out of it. It's sort of up to you. And I think people like Randy can make sure you're on the right side of that whole transition. So
And I
thanks,
would
Randy. I
say,
really appreciate you being here.
yeah, man, just to wrap up, I would say, like, we just launched this book too, The 10 Reasons Builders and Remodelers Fail to Grow. And this really encompasses so much of what we just talked about today, but it really breaks down why we're stuck on the hamster wheel. What are all of those elements that are keeping us there? And there's literally a 10 reason system that our entire business deals with. But it's
Cool.
really simple. It's on Amazon if you want to find the 10 reasons why builders
Great.
and remodelers fail to grow.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time, Randy. This has been great.
Cheers. Thanks, Paul.